Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next on the GM, AFC Wildcard matchups. Do me a quick favor, hit like. If it is your first time checking out the GM, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. So, we are 2 days away from the kickoff of Wildcard Weekend, and Ravens Nation has a front row seat to watch all of the games and see who we will play in round number two. So let's start our conversation with the Buffalo Bills versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe personally that this game is more evenly matched than all of the statistics, all of the big name players will indicate. Here's why. I think both teams are going to come into this game with a similar mentality, and both teams ended the season with a similar run. Pittsburgh made a quarterback switch late in the season and kind of got on track a little bit offensively. They wasn't world beaters, but their offense did look better under Mason Rudolph's leadership. And the Buffalo Bills kind of struggled and stumbled the first part of the season and then got on a run and won the last 5 games. So you could say Buffalo has been in playoff mode for about 5 weeks. And so they both entered this game, and I think they're both going to have a mentality to run the ball. We've definitely seen that from Buffalo the last 5 games of the season. And we also seen that from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Pittsburgh wants to be a run team anyway, but we've seen the Pittsburgh Steelers, once they switch to Mason Rudolph, make a more determined effort to run the ball. And they got two running backs in Najee Harris and Warren who can get that job done. And so I think it's going to be a battle of the trenches. I think that is where this game is going to be won, is in the trenches. They both have the potential to be explosive in the pass game. Of course, you got Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, who are always a dangerous combination. And Mason Rudolph, George Pickens, and Deontay Johnson have developed a little bit of chemistry late in the season. I think, excuse me, I think the Buffalo may have a slight advantage, and I say slight only because it's in Buffalo and weather may be a factor. But the weather factor will be reduced simply because they're both going to make an effort to run this ball. And so I think it's going to come down to who is going to be one, mistake free, and number two, which quarterback is going to make the play late in the game. I say it that way because I expect this game not to be a blowout, but I expect it to be close. Because if weather is going to be a factor, whether it's snowy or rainy or windy, I don't know the weather conditions, but I know in Buffalo, weather is always a factor this time of the year. I think that the passing game is going to be reduced, which puts that greater emphasis on the run game. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, even minus J.J. Watt, are going to put the better defense on the field. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers may have an advantage in coaching, Mike Tomlin versus Sean McDermott. But at the end of it all, it's going to be handled in the trenches. I think that because Josh Allen has uh, had some turnover issues, especially with throwing interceptions, which he did last week. If the Pittsburgh Steelers have their safeties back this week, Ninka and I can't remember the other guy's name, I think that that may play a big time factor. Now, it may sound like I'm predicting the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game, but I'm really not. I really think this game comes down to the fourth quarter. It comes down to who makes the lesser of the mistakes. And I think because Josh Allen does add the ability to run to the Buffalo run game, I think that is going to be the deciding factor along with turnovers. And so I say Buffalo wins this game 23-17 with a late touchdown in the fourth quarter. So let's move to the next matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Miami Dolphins. This is probably the most intriguing AFC matchup this weekend. Well, why? Well, Miami and Kansas City come into this matchup with questions that still need to be answered. Typically, you want your teams to have their questions answered during the 18-week regular season. But questions that Kansas City have to answer is, are the wide receivers going to step up? Can Travis Kelce carry the weight of this receiving core? Is Patrick Mahomes melting down under the pressure of carrying this team? You see, all of those questions still need to be answered, and they're going to have to be answered against the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs. Well, what are the Miami Dolphins questions? Well, the first question and biggest question for Miami is, can they beat a good team on the road, and who's going to be available? Miami has suffered big time loss after big time loss over the course of the last 3 weeks of the regular season. And so they enter this game really hampered by injury. Now, they did sign two veteran pass rushers. They signed Justin Houston, who are wanted to return to the Baltimore Ravens, but it is what it is. And they also signed Bruce Irvin. So they made some good veteran pickups to enter this game, which I think answers a couple of questions for their defense. Offensively, is Jalen Waddle going to be healthy? Is Tyreek Hill able to lead this offense with big time catch and big time playmaking? Now we know that he is, but at crunch time, can Kim and Tua make the connections that they need to be made? And so I think that both these teams, because of weather, is going to try and run the ball. We know that Kansas City has made an effort this year to run the ball with Pacheco, and he's done well. In fact, he helped run them to a championship last year. And we know that the Miami Dolphins have ran the ball really well with Mostert and Wilson. And I'm going to call him Devin because I don't know his last name or know how to pronounce his last name. And so I think that's where this game is going to be won. Just like the Buffalo Pittsburgh game, I think this game is going to be won and lost in the trenches. I think that I think that both defenses will play well for the conditions and the competition that they're going to have. I think the Miami Dolphins have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to their cornerbacks. If Xavier Howard is healthy and going to play, and Jalen Ramsey on the other side, when you have wide receivers who don't have the utmost confidence, I think that you could put Jalen Ramsey onto Travis Kelsey and make the other players beat you. And so I think that's going to be your approach you see this weekend from the Miami Dolphins. Now, it may sound like I'm leaning in the direction of Miami, and I'm really not. I think this game is going to be more evenly matched than expected. I think turnovers is going to be a factor because the weather conditions aren't going to be great. It's going to be freezing cold. That's not a um, part of the Miami climate down there in Miami. Is they're a warm weather team going to a cold Kansas City atmosphere. So I think that could be a factor. But I think that whoever establishes the run the most consistent is going to be the team that comes out with the win. I am going to predict the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game close. Probably something like 24-21. That's what I believe. So I have both Buffalo home team and Kansas City home team both pulling out wins in the first round of the playoffs. Now let's jump to the last matchup, which is the Houston Texans against the Cleveland Browns. This is a matchup that both teams again come in with similar circumstances. Both teams come in with a really solid end to the season. The Houston Texans were in playoff mode, basically win and you're in with a little bit of help, and they end up winning the division, getting the fourth seed. And then the Cleveland Browns, man, they just established who they were, put Joe Flacco in, and kind of balled out. I think this game comes down to quarterback play. I think that when you look at the home team, the Houston Texans, I think they don't really have a home field advantage. I don't believe they're going to have one this week. But I think that being at home will allow CJ Stroud to have a comfort against that Cleveland Browns pass rush. I think that Laramie Tunsil is going to have to do his job to protect the blind side. And I think that if they give CJ Stroud a little bit of time to deliver the ball, I think he does that with a lot of success. When you jump to the Cleveland Brown side of the ball, when we talk about the offense specifically, I think Joe Flacco has done a real good job just bombs away. Him and Amari Cooper had developed a chemistry pretty quickly, and it has been super, super effective. I think they also will try to run the ball against the Houston Texans defense. And so I certainly think both the pass game and the run game will be effective. I think this game comes down to turnovers, and I think this game comes down to which team blinks first. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think Cleveland comes in and just throws the ball all over the field and scores a lot of points. I don't believe that. It's going to come down to who makes the most mistakes. We understand who Joe Flacco is in Baltimore. We know that he could throw 4 touchdowns or he could throw 4 interceptions. We understand that. CJ Stroud at the quarterback position has been a flat out stud as a rookie. He's not shakeable, and I think that he'll stand up and be accounted for this weekend. I think that um, the Houston Texans probably will struggle a little to run the ball, maybe a lot to run the ball because this is a really nice defensive front. And so this is the game where I'm picking the road team to get the victory. I'm predicting that the Cleveland Browns win a hard fought matchup against the Houston Texans. This game, I think, is settled by the Cleveland Browns defense. And I think that the Cleveland Browns win something like 24-17, holding this Houston Texans offense to below 20. I think that Houston will move the ball okay. I think that they'll get into scoring position, but they'll have to kick field goals versus touchdowns. And I think that's going to be a decided factor. And so I'll predict Cleveland to win this game, which means you will have a Baltimore Cleveland Browns matchup in round number 2. So let me know what you guys want me to know, man. Let me know who you guys think will win the game. Let me know what you guys think that I missed and what points you guys think I hit. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and we're out.